So for today, I'm going to do a little review first, but then we're going to talk about bar graphs like this versus histograms like that, and then ones that are harder to tell if it's a bar graph or a histogram. And there's a few other types of graphs that we'll be doing today too. All right, moving on. I'd like you to start with me here, and we're going to number this. You see that X and Y axis? We're just going to ignore the Y axis I have running through there. I couldn't find good graph paper, so I just took a picture of one. But we're going to number from 0, and we're going to go by fives. So we'll start with 0, and then 5, and then 10, and then 15, and then 20, and then 30, or 25, and then 30, 35, and then 40, okay? So every box is 5. Got it numbered out like that? Now, if you make your box and whisker plots like I showed you yesterday, right above a number line, like on graph paper like this, then when you draw your lines for your box, you can really tell pretty easily what Q1 and Q3 are, because they're the edges of the box. But I'd like to note that the line that goes down the middle here, I'm going to make it red, does not have to be right down the middle. See, like that's where the line in the middle is, but yet the median doesn't have to be right in the middle of that box. If I drew my median right there, then that means that's at about 17, because this is where 15 is, right? So if I drew this, would you know the 5 number summary? Would you just list the 5 key numbers? From that box and whisker plot, since it's on graph paper, you should be able to tell me the 5 key numbers. I would just always list them in order from small to big. So can you see that the smallest one is at 5? It's right between 0 and 10. So 5 is one of the 5 number summary. Okay. And I told you this one, but oh wait, we got to get to this one next. That one is Q1, and it is 10. And I'm going to label it as Q1. And I'm going to label this one as the min. This is how you would do your 5 number summary. The min is 5. 10 is Q1. Where I put that Q made it hard to read that it's a Q. I'm going to move it over a little bit. There, Q1. 17 is, what do you think med stands for? Median. Good. Notice it's not the average in the middle of this thing. Very common for people to think that the middle one is the average. It's not. It's the median. Median and the average are kind of close to each other, but they're different. All right, the next number in the 5 number summary would be this edge of the box, which would be at 20, and that is at Q3. And the last one here is right there, and it looks like it's at 35, and that's the max. There is your 5 number summary. The thing on the left, that's called a box plot, or a box and whisker plot. The thing on the right is just a list of the 5 key numbers. Those are the 5 number summary. All right, what is not in the 5 number summary? The average. The average is maybe different. All right, if I gave you just the raw data that would create this chart, would you know where to put it in the calculator? The raw data? Can you tell from just these 5 numbers how many numbers were in my data set? Can you tell that? All right, I want you to talk to the kid next to you. Can you tell the raw data from this? Can you tell? Raw data or not? You guys talk to each other, and then you have to talk to both people in both directions. All right. No, you can't tell what the raw data is. Except for two things. Mr. Breen, can you tell me something you know for sure?
The min.
The min. How about, what's the other one?
Max.
The max. Those are the only two that you would know for sure were part of the data set. The 5 and the 35. But we can't tell if there was 100 numbers in the data set, or if there was, maybe there was literally only 5 numbers in the data set. It's possible. All right. So I want to give you a data set now, and I want you to put it into the calculator, and I want you to get a 5-number summary. Again, it's just a total review of yesterday. So for this one, though, I want to use real-world data, and I want to ask kids in here, how many minutes does it take to drive to the high school for you? All right? So I'm going to pick a random row in here, and I'm just going to ask, if you get in a car at your house, and we're going to make this at school time, okay? Not counting having to wait in a line of cars out in front, because that's sometimes random, sometimes it's really busy. If you just had to drive to the front door, how many minutes does it take you to get there? So we're going to type in, I think it's probably going to be like 10 kids I will ask, all right? And again, if you're embarrassed by your number, I don't care. Make up a number for me. That's how many minutes. All right, in the front row, how many minutes? 15. Next. Yep.
20.
Next.
14.
15, 20, 14. And again, right now you're entering these. You're going to stat edit. And, oh, wait, for some of you, you're probably like, but wait, I have numbers in there. You know what to do? You can delete them out by just hitting DEL, delete, 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 delete. Just hit DEL a whole bunch of times. But warning, don't delete the entire list 1, or now you have to use list 2 from now on. Because you can by accident delete all of list 1. If that happened to you and you're like, what, my L1 is gone, just bring it up. I can do a special kind of reset. It's not this reset that I have on the board. 2nd plus 712 doesn't do it. There's a harder core reset I can do for you if that happens to you. If you by accident delete your whole list. All right, so we have so far entered 15, 20, and 14. All right, next kid. 30. Next kid. 10. Next kid. 20. All right, we all caught up? Go up to the front.
30.
30. Next kid. He's in the test, so we'll go to you, Aiden.
7.
7. 30 and then 7. Okay. And one more kid. 10. Should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers in there. All right, now go to stat, calculate the 1var stats, hit enter a few times, and if you got an average, which by the way would look like this, X bar, of 17.3 repeating, raise your hand if you had that. Nice. Okay, if you got the same average as me, you must have used those same numbers. I mean, unless you like added 1 to one number and subtracted 1 from another, I guess you technically have the same average. All right, so now I want to make sure you know where the heck the 5-number summary is. I'd like you to list the 5 numbers that are in the 5-number summary and label them each, like min, max, Q1, Q3, and med for median. Those are always going to go in order from small to big. Okay, for our data set, these are our numbers. Now, if I was going to make an official box and whisker, the only thing that you have to do different than we did yesterday is you have to do it with graph paper. Now, every box is going to be a certain length. In my opinion, you would not want to go 30 boxes over. So you probably don't want to number by ones. Every box you do, maybe let's make it 5. So you start at 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Notice I haven't done my box and whisker yet. I just have labeled my little boxes. Now, above it, I start at 7, and I go all the way to 30. In my opinion, this is the fast way to do it. Now I draw my box in, which is from Q1 to Q3. That's from 10 to 25. See what I did there? I went from the min to the max with one solid line. And I did my box, which was from Q1 to Q3. The last thing you do is put in the median, which is 15. Boop, right there. That make sense to you? All right. You got these numbers and you've got, there we go. Okay, come back with us. Here's the data. And actually, it's not up there anymore. Just be with me on this next one, please. All right, so we're going to now ask you a different question about the same data. What was the standard deviation? Remember how it was a 17.3 average, but do you know which of those little things in that list was the standard deviation? It's on your list. It's not on your box plot. It's in your calculator. Now, some kids are going to remember which one it is, and some kids aren't. Write down what the standard deviation is, and then talk to the kid next to you about which one it was. It's this little thing that kind of looks like a 9 laying on its side, or an O with a little like tag on the top of the O. Okay, and that's 7.9. That's the standard deviation. Because think of it this way: nobody had a 17.3 minute commute. Nobody. Everybody deviates from that average. This was the standard deviation from the average. Most kids were about 8 minutes away from the average. That's what that means. But technically what's happening is they take the difference of everybody had. Like you were, 10 minutes away from the average, and you were 7 minutes away from the average, and it averages all of the differences. After you square them, and you divide by how many numbers there were, and then you take the square root of that. So it's a complicated formula we're not going to make you do by hand. But this 7.9 helps you if you want to do a normal distribution. Would everybody please draw one of these? It's called the bell curve. And the average was, again, 17.3. And I taught you about going out one standard deviation. So do you get, if the standard deviation was 7.9, you would have to add 17.9 to the 17.3, 7.9 to the 17.3. You'd add the 7.9 here. And And I'm going to just do that with my calculator real quick. 17.3 plus 7.9, and I get 25.2. That spot right there is 25.2. And if I subtract it on the other side, I take the 17.3 and I minus the 7.9, I get 9.4. Then, here's the cool thing. The one standard deviation out means that 68% of you, that's the thing that stats teachers know and you're going to know that other people don't. 68% of you are between a 9.4 minute commute and a 25.2 minute commute. If you go with one standard deviation out in each direction, one this way and one that way, then you'll have 68% of your people are in that little group. Even a little more advanced. If the whole thing is 68, then this part's 34%. And this part's 34%, because if you add them together, you get 68, right? So it's safe to say that 34% of people commute between 17.3 and 25.2 minutes to get here. All right, there are some things that could change this. In 100 years, I think it is very possible that there will be some kids who are commuting here by quadcopter. I'm not kidding. Because there are now autonomous quadcopter companies where you can hop in this little quadcopter. It flies you autonomously wherever you want. It could like drop you off on the football field. And then it just leaves and flies home. And you're here at school. Do you think it's going to take you the same amount of time to get to school then? No. Insanely shorter commute. It might be 2 minutes to get to school in a quadcopter. Isn't that kind of cool? It's 100 years from now. You'll probably be dead. I'll probably be dead. Unless they've figured out some kind of cool tech to extend lives. If so, you might be like 120 years old when the time comes, but... Okay, so back to the commute times might shrink because of that, in my opinion. I think cars, they're not going to want to, like, yes, cars could theoretically go faster and faster, but that also gets more and more dangerous. People won't want to do that. And I'm not saying everybody flies to school on a quadcopter. I'm not saying that. I'm saying some people would. All right, so let's move on. You do not need this on your iPad. I'm just going to show you. That's a bar graph. The thing next to it is called a histogram, and that's the one I don't think you've done as much. And I want you to look at the difference. They both are labeled along this axis. They both have bars. So what's the difference? This is the length of time for commute. Remember that, how much long does it take to get to school thing? I did it for real with you guys. This is the numbers that they had. Do you get how they lump people together that are between 0 and 5 minutes? And there were 3 of them. See, it's like little sets of people. The red bar, this bar here, that's people that have between a 5 and a 10 minute commute. So that's the difference. It looks like a bar graph. It's just that the bars have a whole bunch of people in them. Because see, if you wanted to poll 1,000 people, you can still put it on a bar graph like this. You could have just like 100 people that are in this little group. All right. So, bar graphs and histograms, very similar. It's just all about the X labeling. Okay. This is one you've probably never seen before. Let's say this is ages of people that are at a party. If I told you that on this data there's one 63-year-old, Can you see that data up there? If you look close, you'll be able to see the 163-year-old. There's also 2 4-year-olds at the party. Can you see those? Starting to catch this? There's one 63-year-old. That was a 63-year-old. There was 2 4-year-olds. See? There was 2 11-year-olds. Kind of getting how this works? So what does this right here represent? A 25-year-old. Is that making sense? How many 50-year-olds are at the party? None. Look, empty. Was there any 40-somethings? Yeah, there was one, and he was 47. Okay, that's what a stem and leaf looks like. That's one of your new ones you've probably never seen before. Let's see if you get it. Here's a new one. My first question for you, just write this down. Question A, how many people were there at the party? How many people were at the party? Talk to the kid next to you about how many people were at the party. Yes, good. I can tell you can tell. Yay. 6 people were at the party. And don't talk to the kid next to you for this one. These are too easy if you're now getting this. Who was the youngest? Not who was the youngest, sorry. How old was the youngest? Oldest? Range. Dylan, youngest?
Youngest was 10,
Oldest?
30, or 48.
Correct. And Ben, the range? Because you take the oldest minus the youngest, and you get 38. Good. All right, cool. If we were to make this into a box plot, would it be as simple as starting with, sorry, not 6, starting with a 10-year-old, ending with a 48-year-old? Would that be a good start to the box plot? Yep. And then the box, can you tell just by looking at these numbers what the Q1 and the Q3 are? Nah, it'd be kind of hard. It actually could be done by hand. You'll have a calculator for this test, though. But what it would be is you'd find the middle one. Can you tell what the middle one is? There's 6 numbers. So it would be the 3rd and the 4th number. 3rd number is 35. 4th number is 47. If I listed these numbers in order, it would go like this: 10, 34, 35, 47, 47, and 48. And the 2 in the middle are those 2. Does that make sense to you? All right. Hey, Max, could you shut the door over there, please? Okay, so the median would be exactly between 35 and 47. What do you think I'm going to do to those on the calculator? Well, there's probably 2 ways to answer that. I'm averaging them. Or you could say I'm adding them together and dividing by 2. And I get 41. So the median of this thing is going to be 41. And then to get Q1, I'd figure out what's in the middle of the top. No, I'm sorry, that's Q3. To get Q3, I would do what's in the middle of the top numbers. And then to get Q1, I do what's in the middle of the bottom numbers. So you can actually do it. It's not impossible. You just have to line them up from smallest to biggest and figure out what's the middle, and then what's the middle of the top group and what's the middle of the bottom group. That's how you get Q1 and Q3. All right, let's move on. I think this is worth doing, except we're not going to do a bar graph. They take too long, and I think you've done a million of them. So I think those are too easy. Stem and leaf. Draw a line like this. And then start with the smallest one. Shout out the number when you figure out which the smallest is. If you're wrong, it's okay. 12, I agree. So you go like that. That's the smallest one, is 12. You see how I broke it into two parts? What's the next biggest one after 12? I think it's 16. Can anybody verify that they think it's 16 too? All right, good. Then I want to put a 6 here. Comma. Carlos, what's the next biggest one? I agree. Is there any 19s or 20s? Don't think so. Okay. How about 21, 22? What's the next biggest one? A little louder. 20 what? 20? Okay. Didn't even see it. There it is. Now, is there a 21? I think you're getting the idea. Finish this off. We've already done the 12, the 16, the 18, so I'm going to cross off the ones we've done. 12, 16, 18, and 20. Max, what's the next biggest one that you see? 22. Is there a 22 up there? I was trying to hear you. I couldn't hear you. I don't think there's a 22. Is there something else in the 20s? 27. So I'm going to put a 7 here. Okay. What's after that, Max? Oh, there's another 27. And then there's a 29. And then we get into the 30s. Okay, take a second. I'm going to pause for a second while you finish this thing off.
2 and 4.
2 and then 3 and then 4. That means 32, 33, and 34. And then the 40s?
1, 2, 8.
4, 1, 2, 8. Now, one thing. Oh, and there's a 51. There we go. One thing, you don't have to put commas between them. You don't. You can just leave the numbers without the commas. Like that could be 268, and you'd have to know it's not 268. It's a 1 with a 2, a 1 with a 6, and a 1 with an 8. So it can clean it up just a little more without the commas. All right, good. So here's a really nice, clean, beautiful box and whisker. And I just want you to look at it for a minute and see that's the kind of quality you're going to be doing when you do test it on this. You're going to make it really nice and clean. We'll give you the chance to number it like this. Take your time on numbering it and use whole numbers like they counted by 5s. So that's how nice yours is going to have to look on the test. Okay? You can't just go doot, 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 and stick your numbers in the 5 spots. You can't just do that. You got to make it look nice on the test. All right, moving on. We are not going to draw a box plot. I think we've done enough of them together that you get the idea. just a reminder, you'd have to take these numbers and put them in your calculator. Even though you could figure out all these numbers yourself, you wouldn't want to, because you'd probably mess up your Q1 and your Q3. You have to also put them in order if you're going to do it by hand. So you definitely would just type these into the calculator under Stat Edit. All right, and a bar graph. I don't feel like we need to make one of those. You guys are pretty good at those. Again, bar graphs just would look like this. And you just have to number this, number the bottom, and then put bars up to where each one rises. Like this, how many kids did 2 books? 5 kids. How many kids did 3 books? 8 kids. And again, I think you can do those. All right. Now, one thing I think is be good to spend some time talking about is if you were comparing group A and B, this is more of a Algebra 2 level question here. Was group B reading more than group A? Yes, but not by much. Look at the graphs really close. And yes, group B read a little more than group A. But where were they reading more books? In what part of the graph? Please talk to the kid next to you about where the actual difference was between group A and group B. Use words like between Q1 and the median or something like that. That would make it seem like you know what you're talking about. Caitlin, can you tell me, Group B definitely read a little bit more than Group A, but where was the big difference?
Between Q2 and max.
Between Q2 and the max, let's talk about it. Here's Q2 to the max. That's the top 25 percentile, read between 6 and 9. And here they read between 5 and 8. That is more books for that top group. What other group could you say read more, Caitlin?
Between the median and...
Yes. In Group A, that 25% of the group read between 4 and 5 books, whereas here they read between 4 and 6 books. So the thing that's really important to kind of be able to note is, look, the bottom 25%, the next 25% were exactly the same. So it was kind of only the kids that were on the top end of that class that were different. The bottom half of the classes were exactly the same. Okay. Good. Now, your homework. We're going to do an easy one to remember. I looked through them carefully, and it was the logical choices are to skip the first problem of the homework and the last problem of the homework. I didn't just do that to make it easy. Those were the logical ones to skip. So, skip number 1. And I think it's number 8. Can anybody verify the last one's number 8? Or was it number 6? Or which? 6? Thank you. Skipping 1, skipping 6. So doing problems 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that keeps it reasonable. And you get a little bit of practice on each kind. And of course you can always go do the other ones if you feel like you need to practice. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to put on some music and I'm going to hope you walk up and ask me questions. But I'm also going to hand back your cumulative tests so you can see how you did. And that's all I got for you for today.